Hello everyone, this is Denise Love, and today I thought we would take a peek and play in one of my sketchbooks. I'm going to play in sketchbooks more this year just because I have a bunch of them that randomly I have purchased or I've used in workshops and then not finished, or they've come in a monthly box, and so I've got a stack now and I thought I need to start using these. And so today I'm working in a little Hahnemuhle watercolor book. It's exactly the same one as this one that I hadn't taken out of the package yet, because I've gotten, just randomly, more than once they've come in a box of whatever I've gotten. So thought we would use that and just fill this one up with my playtime with my Masha's watercolors, because if you don't play with your supplies and figure out how they work, how do you know what you're going to like and stuff? So I actually started this one with some color swatches of every row. Then I realized I skipped a row, so I put that row up here and then finished, but I was painting a little abstract to kind of play. And so what I did in here was I painted, just picking out different colors out of this sampler collection from Masha's Watercolors. And this set had the sample colors from her essential set and the two other sets that she had on there. This little palette that I had is the essential set, and I loved it so much that when I saw this sampler set come up, I hopped on it because I thought, ooh, 36 colors. You know, I didn't really realize how many colors that were available and what I would like, and the samplers seemed to be perfect. I don't know the color names though, so I'll have to go back and visually eyeball and see what colors those are. But I did myself a little swatch sheet up here, and as I was painting little abstract backgrounds, I was kind of deciding, oh yes, I love that color, oh not quite my favorite. So I've gone in with a pencil and started to kind of lightly circle some of the ones that I think are my favorites. And so that's been kind of fun, and I've changed my mind a couple times, and I've just been kind of playing in here. And so I just went through and painted some backgrounds. I added some metallic powders, some of these aqua bronze powders. I have just sprinkled that onto some of these, and look how that does. It gives it like a fun little metallic flavor there. And I've just had a really good time doing like the initial kind of backgrounds, doing a little mark making as I'm going with water soluble pencil. And I thought maybe we could just kind of look at some of these. Here's another one that I've put powder on, that metallic powder, and that was kind of fun. And I just kind of sprinkled the powder itself on the wet watercolor paper and then let it do its thing. I didn't mix it with water. And that aqua bronze comes in a couple different colors, so I was really having a lot of fun with those. And so one night, because you have to let these pages dry, and so if you're going to do something like this, what I would recommend is what I did. I took all this stuff downstairs, because my studio's upstairs here in my townhouse, and I sat it on the dining room table, and I was painted one, and then I had to let it sit there and dry. And you want to let these dry naturally rather than putting a heat gun to them, because the watercolors do magical things. And you know, any watercolor brand, if you're using Daniel Smith or Sennelier, you want to let the watercolors sit a bit if you can, because they do tricks. They separate, they create some divisions and blooms and all kinds of fun things, and so you don't want to hit a heat gun to it every time. So what I did was I would paint a spread, and then I'd go watch TV, and 15 or 20 minutes later I'd come over and I'd be like, okay, let's try a different one, and I'd paint that spread, and I'd go watch some TV, and I did this all night. And then you can see how many that you can get done in one evening, because it was kind of my goal to fill the whole sketchbook with the Masha's colors, just random abstracts, and then come back and mark make on top of it. And then there'll just be a book of pretty little abstracts that I can then get inspiration from later. But I'm thinking, I would be able to then look at it and be very proud of the little sketchbook I finished. And I didn't I got to the very last couple pages, which I'm not going to, I'm okay if I don't finish to the last 2 or 3 pages, but look at all the ones I did do. I also took some deli paper, some wax paper from the deli stuff, just because this is dry wax paper, I think, but it's from the kitchen department. So I cut up some little pieces that I could then protect if I use pastel or something on these, and maybe I don't have it fixed yet. I've got a few of these I've cut up just to protect some of these if I want to use something that I know is going to smear. If you don't want to worry about that, don't use oil pastel or soft pastel. Use Neocolor 2s or Posca pen or Woodies. So yeah, look at all of these that I painted in one evening, and now they're ready for me to come back and mark, make, and play on. And I've already been kind of experimenting. I was in my little Klimt mode. I'm going to be probably in Klimt mode all year. But I was making some lovely little Klimt marks and stuff that I've gleaned from his paintings, and then mixed in some of my own favorite things that I like to do. So this little coffee bean with metallic dots around it was an element from those, and I did use oil pastel on these, so I had a little sheet ready to protect those. And then I was just again doing some color swatching, looking at how the colors kind of separated. This is a good way to learn your watercolors, whatever watercolor brand you're using, because who knew, like, look how pretty this one right here is, and the way it separated and did kind of fun tricks. Love that. So I did a couple of those. I was just kind of playing. Oh, here's some that I did some more yummy Klimt inspired mark making in there with the twirls and the pattern on pattern and the coffee bean shape and the swirls and the triangles, and you can see how very fun and inspired little tiny abstracts can be in this book. And then we'll come back and flip through it and say, oh my gosh, look how pretty those are. And then I've got some pastel on there. So this was actually the Neocolor 2 pastels that I used on these, and I put a separator in there just in case. But there is no pastel on my wax paper at all, so I feel pretty comfortable that that's not going to smear. So I thought that we could just go ahead and finish some of these abstract pieces in our sketchbook, that we've already kind of got started. So I've already got these started, and they're just lovely. They're exciting. It gave me a chance to experiment with the different colors, and then if something that I thought was really cool, then I circled it. So that is what I'm gonna do, is just kind of come in here now and maybe finish some of these. I know now that the Neocolor 2 crayons is probably the better choice rather than the wax pastel or the chalk pastel. I also could pull the Woodies out, because I think those would be the same as the Neocolor 2s as far as smearing and stuff like that. I think we'd be okay with that. And I thought maybe we could just finish a few of these. I could do stencil work on top of something like this. I can do drawings and marks. I can work with Posca pen. There's so many choices. I don't want to get limited and get in a hurry, and at the same time I do kind of want to finish out some of these. So I've got my Kuretake Gold acrylic liner because it's easy. And so when I say it's easy, I just mean, it's the same color as my Kuretake Gold mica ink that I always use with my brass nib. But so many people are like, well, what else could I use besides the brass nib? Because that is a purchase. It's definitely something that you commit to, but it's my very favorite art tool, so I didn't mind spending the $50-something for that nib, and I have certainly used it so much that it paid for itself. But this is a $4 solution to that, because look at how shiny that is. Oh, it is my newest favorite art tool. Everything Kuretake makes is my favorite. But I love that this is a, you know, $4-ish solution to the budget factor there. And so it's also super convenient. I'm not messing with ink and getting that out and getting stuff everywhere and having to clean my dip pen. So this is super convenient. If you like working with pens and markers, you need this. This too, I think it's a sketchbook, Sketchbox one that I got in my Sketchbox subscription. So, and I do think, because I've looked on Amazon, do think these might be either brand new and they're not quite out everywhere yet, or they're Sketchbox exclusive, or Sketchbox got to premiere it. I don't know. I've only seen it on their Shop Sketch site, so I've got a link below where you can find it, because I haven't been able to find it anywhere else. And that's why I love the Sketchbox, because those people are so creative and they work with vendors. And I got an email from them recently talking about like a survey saying, you know, what are you interested in going forward from the Sketchbox stuff, like new ideas and things. They surveyed people, and then they also said that they had been to Frankfurt to, like, I don't know, art symposium or something. I guess maybe where vendors go to buy art supplies to stock their shelves or something like that, maybe. And they have some new things in the works. And so I was like, oh my goodness, I cannot wait to see what they come up with. Because they do the best job, and they have introduced me to all the Kuretake products. Every single one of those that have come have turned into some of my absolute favorite art stuff to use. So while getting something like a subscription box may sound scary, or maybe you're not sure that that's for you, I love the present aspect of being surprised. Like, Sketchbox is sending me a present every month, even though I'm paying for it. It's the coolest stuff that you get. And so I'm like, best thing ever for me. And they've introduced me to all the favorites that you see on my channel a lot of times. So yeah, I just can't brag about them enough. I like small businesses. You know, somebody mentioned in a recent art video underneath it that I work with, you know, some really cool art things, but could I, you know, work with cheap supplies? And they wanted to see cheap art supply videos, and I don't really want to limit myself into a, you know, like a price range or a particular thing that may or may not work for everybody. I don't want to stop my creativity and kind of lock myself down to, oh, I can't use this. It might have been expensive, because I like to help small businesses, and I like to see what things like the subscription boxes send. And I'm going to use some of these Archer and Olive pens, because they're such a fine tip, and I'm feeling like I want to use that over here somewhere. But yeah, I like promoting small businesses. So, you know, I know that something like handmade watercolors are not in everybody's budget, and I make plenty of my own handmade watercolors, so I have an appreciation for how much work goes into the creation of a set of watercolors. And when I was younger, you know, I'm one of those people that would go to the craft fair and I'd be like, oh, I can make that, I'm not going to buy it. And as I've gotten older, I've been like, oh, I'm not going to spend $100 trying to make that. I'm just going to appreciate that you made it and buy it from you. So I think that might come with age. And I get excited to promote little businesses, and Sketchbox is a little business that was started by a couple, and they still run that, and you know, they're getting a little bigger and a little bigger, but at the same time it's still, you know, a small business for the most part. And if I love them, I want to talk about and share, you know, what small businesses are doing. I love Masha's watercolors because extremely creative. I'm always kind of stalking her little Etsy page to be like, ooh, what's on here now? And you know, I enjoy doing that. And so when I create stuff in, say, my sketchbook, and I'm exploring and playing and creating, I'm kind of playing and exploring my supplies, which is what I want to inspire you to do. I want you to get out your different supplies and experiment and play and create, regardless of what I'm using in, you know, in my art practice. I want you to, you know, get some good ideas and be like, ooh, I never would have thought of that. But you don't have to have what I'm using at all. I'm going to continue on with my quest for small businesses and interesting supplies, and you know, that's what I love. Doesn't have to be, you know, inexpensive. I'm a little old lady now. I worked hard and kind of positioned my life to the point that it's at now, and paid off all my debt. And I paid off my mortgage 15 years early because I paid double my mortgage payment every month, and I paid off my car. So, you know, I have purposely set a direction for myself and said, okay, here's what I want to be able to do. How do I get there? And it took years of super hard work, like super hard work. But now I'm there, and I have the freedom of no mortgage payment. So, you know, if you save $1,000 a month or however much your mortgage is, you can see how many art supplies you could buy. Oh, if you don't have those big bills hanging over you. You know, people don't tell you, at least where I am from, they don't tell you that it's okay not to have a mortgage, to pay off your mortgage. They tell you, still looking around here, what I want to add. They tell you, you know, invest that money, don't pay stuff off. Ooh, I want some dots, white dots. You know, that paying your mortgage off is not a good, sound investment strategy. But let me tell you, shame on them. The peace of mind that you get when you don't have a big mortgage or interest from that mortgage. You know, the average price of a house in the United States now is like $400,000. I mean, who can afford that, number one? And number two, interest rates are pretty high. So if you had, say, a $400,000 house that you bought and you mortgaged it, and you're paying interest on all of that, you're going to pay for the $400,000 house like twice. So that's $400,000 that you originally bought it for, and probably another $400,000 in interest. And think of all of the art supplies you could have bought with that $400,000 in interest that you spent. Same with credit cards. You know, I know a lot of people, and I did this myself, you want it now, so you buy it on a credit card, and you don't pay the credit card off every month, and so that interest starts to pile up, and so you're basically, with interest, pre-spending the money that you haven't made already. And so it took me a long time to kind of figure out, you don't have to have a car payment. You know, that's another thing too, car payment. My mom was like, who cares if you trade your car? You're always going to have a car payment. Don't worry about it. But you don't have to have a car payment. You don't have to have a mortgage. You can pay these things off, and then all that interest that you saved is crazy amazing. It's another Archer and olive pen. I don't know what these colors are. They're just random sets that I bought. Yeah, but like she was a kid raising a kid. We didn't really learn, you know, good financial principles as a kid. I didn't. And so I always thought we'd have a car payment. I always thought you'd have a mortgage. I always thought, you know, credit cards are fine because you can have what you want right then, but you know, you have all that interest that you've just pre-spent all the future money that you're making, and you just don't understand some of these things until you're in a bind and you're like, well, how did I get here? That was a long speech of stuff, but I just wanted to kind of say, you know, I have spent years and years, I'm going to do some of this in here, getting to the point where I can now buy fun art supplies. I don't have to limit my budget like I did when I was younger. And I did that on purpose. And then on top of that, I made it where it's a business So now my art supplies, if I'm using them in videos and doing stuff like this, it's tax deductible. So you can see how you can kind of maneuver your way into, you know, the kind of life that you're thinking, ooh, I want to be able to do that too. Well, that's kind of how I did that. I worked really super hard for years, eliminating any kind of debt that then would prevent me from doing stuff like buying random art supplies whenever I wanted. And I just love to collect pretty little things like art supplies. But it took a long time to get here, and you can kind of think about, like, what do you want to do and figure out, how can I get there? What is preventing me from doing that now? Somebody in my group said, oh, I need a rich man to come marry me. And I thought, oh, no, you don't want that. I don't have a rich man, and I'm glad. I was married years ago. It was terrible. I don't want to do that again. TMI, I know. Okay, so that's a fun page. We probably just kind of just way over the top there, but I don't mind. I'm just kind of having fun here and painting. And I'm kind of thinking, because look, now we can just flip through and be like, ooh, look how lovely those pages are. And there's another one up here that's finished. I really like that one there, actually, a lot. So I want to be able to flip. That one's kind of fun though. I really like what I did with that orange. I kind of want that orange to even go further off the page and just let it kind of do some funky stuff outside of my abstract here. Whoa, I love it. I want to do the same over here. What color did I have over there? Was it this one? I think it was. Yeah. And this is a perfect way to test out some ideas like this. You know, it's a sketchbook. It's not like it's a final, extremely amazing piece of art that you're scared to mess up. That's not what sketchbooks are for me. For me, I like that. That made that better. They're about discovery and play and figuring things out. Okay, so we're going to call this one finished. I don't think those are going to smear on each other because they don't get on my fingers, but I'm going to set this page just in the middle for now, just in case. And then, oh, let's go to this one. So let's finish another one, and we might come back to these. Kind of fill in my circles, and I'm going to use my Zig pen. See, this is so convenient. Like if you're working on some of these, paint a bunch of backgrounds and then go, you know, traveling or whatever, you can take this with you with all these little backgrounds that you've already painted. Then you can take like some little Neo Color 2 crayons, and you can be like, okay, I don't have, you know, a great big mess that I got to deal with. I've already got these beautiful little backgrounds ready for me to finish. And I can just take a few things like pencils and like a marker and this gold pen. I'm just going to get some more of that started out there. And you can have like some no stress, low mess kind of art finishing. So perfect if you need something to like travel with. A little tiny sketchbook, a couple of supplies, and you can just finish pieces as you've got some time to spare. Or, you know, if you want to finish all these in your art room, like this bunch of backgrounds, and then take them downstairs and play, you know, while you're watching TV or something, that would be super fun, without taking your whole art room with you. Because it was pretty easy just to take this little set of watercolors downstairs and just paint different backgrounds, and I could stop and let them dry while I just did something else. That was convenient. Now I have all these ready for me to finish and play on and test out ideas. I love it. I love it. Oh yes, and I've got all kinds of mark making and weirdness going on in that, but there is some shimmer where I put in some of that shiny metallic aqua bronze powder. There's some shimmer in there. And then where I just drew these circles, that's got some fun shimmer. Also, I'm going to still kind of, in my mind, play with like some Klimt patterns, and he's got a lot of little triangles. So let's do some of those over here in the gold. swear you're going to hear me say Klimt all year long, because so much inspiration to be had studying his paintings. And if you haven't checked out my Klimt class on Skillshare, I'll link that below the video. We kind of do a deep dive in his patterns, and we kind of study his work in a way that's a little bit less intimidating than a traditional master study. And man, the stuff coming out of that class has just got me giddy. People are doing amazing stuff with those ideas. Such a fun class. That's probably my most favorite class to date. I had so much fun creating it and studying his paintings. Look at that. Look at those fun triangles. Okay, I'm loving the triangles. Let's go over here and do some. Let's just triangle this up today. And you can be, you know, a little more exact than I am drawing your stuff. I like mine a little more organic looking, not perfect, kind of hand drawn. That's a little bit more my current likes when I create. But you can be all perfect and exact with yours. Everybody has a little different style when they're creating. That's what makes us all unique there. You know what else I want to do around these? We'll come back to that. I want to do some dots. Because really, Klimt is all about pattern within pattern, on top of pattern, within some color, and just how much interest can we pile into the piece. Then you're not even going to see all that interest until you look up close, and then you're like, oh, look at all that's going on in there that you don't even see if you're standing way back. I love it. Oh, that just totally made me happy. Ooh, look at that. What I also have decided that I like are these Faber-Castell Polychromos pencils. Because somebody mentioned under a video where I said that they are more oil-based rather than what a lot of the pencils are, and they are just so smooth, and on top of watercolor and within other materials that you're using, they make the best marks. And so I've decided that this might be my favorite pencil because it makes such good mark making, and it's a finer mark than my Neocolor 2 crayons. So to do something like this, I'm liking the Polychromo pencils and the Neocolor 2 crayons. And you don't even have to have a big set of all the colors. You can do fun stuff with just the little set of 12. Which also came in one of the art boxes. I don't remember which one, but it was in an art haul recently, so I've been determined to make sure that I'm like, ooh, I need to definitely be using some of this stuff. And this was some good stuff. I like it. Let's see, look at this color. What is this color? Burnt ochre. Well, that's why I like it. It's a burnt ochre. And we're just having some fun with some marks and pattern. Look at that. Okay, that's super fun. I might still want to do something on top here. Let's see, what do we got over here? Got the Neocolors sitting over to the side. Got this pretty blue, so I could do bigger. And one of the things I like about Klimt's work is his circles or whatever pattern or whatever. It's never just one color. It's never just one thing. So if we had a blue circle, then we're going to have, you know, some other thing circling that. So maybe we can use this orange and come back and make a circle around what we just did. It's not all about it just being one mark and being done. So that's kind of something that I want to take forward in my own work and think about. You know, it's never just one thing, which I actually was kind of doing that a little bit with some paint and some other stuff and some paintings where I outlined the little circle of whatever I painted. So I already kind of leaned towards that. So when I saw that in his work, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go with that. We're gonna continue moving forward with that. And if you like botanicals, drawing botanicals and stuff, something like this would be perfect for doing some botanical work. Woohoo, I like this. So keep that in mind. Use whatever you've got on hand. You don't have to use whatever somebody else is using in their videos. Experiment and play with some of the stuff that you've already got. So you come back in the middle and do like a little dot in the middle of those. That's fun. Ooh, super fun. Okay, I'm feeling good about that page. I love the things that shine. Look at that. Oh, those are fun. I'm going to enjoy kind of looking back at some of these, and I might think later, oh, why'd I do this way, or why'd I do that way? It doesn't matter. It's a fun exercise playing here in the sketchbook, and I'm going to come back on a different day and maybe we'll finish out some more of these layouts. But I had a really good time painting with you today. Hope you got some good ideas for maybe taking a small sketchbook, filling up with the paints and whatever it is that you have, some of these pages with some background that you can then come back and mark make on top and play like we did today. So I hope you enjoyed painting with me today, and I'll see you next time. Bye.